Hello, everybody. It's Marci from wavesofcommunication.com, and today I am here with another very special video for you. I'm digging into my toolbox in the year 2021 to provide amazing tools for parents to elevate your language facilitation journey. And I am not an astrologer. I did not study this stuff. I am learning as I go. And in order to really share this information, I wanted to get an expert. Today is going to be one of probably many more of these kinds of videos that we talk about, because the more I get into this, the more I learn there's more concepts. Today, I am here with Rachel Middleton, who is my astrologer. And so what I want to do right away is have Rachel introduce herself to you and tell you how she and I came to be working together to help you through my Waves of Communication platform. So take it away, Rachel.
Okay, hi everybody. Hi Marci, I'm Rachel. Well, first and foremost, I am also a parent of a late talker, and that's how I found Marci. I think the first thing I ever came across was one of your YouTube videos, and I really think it was like I was praying a lot about it, so I do think it was an answer to prayer, because you were really one of the first resources I came across early on in my search, when I first was looking for resources for speech delay. In my toddler. My son's 3 now. I started when he was 2. He just turned 3. First found your YouTube channel and started watching your videos and was immediately like, oh, okay, this sounds like something I want to investigate in more. I got your book. I audibled your book, and then I remember I joined your coaching program, the independent study program, in May during the pandemic. It was like I also have a 6-month-old, so I'm a full-time mom. I'm also a practicing astrologer for many years, and other things too. But right now I started working with you using astrology because it's the overlap between language facilitation and astrology for me was something that I was always paying attention to. I'm a research astrologer in my heart of hearts, and so I was like super curious to reach out to you on that basis. I've had like thoughts about my own son's astrological, different things regarding his language facilitation. Here's one of my superpowers as a mom is with the astrology. Maybe other parents might like to know, because astrology first and foremost is also a language. It's a symbolic language, and people that aren't familiar with it, sometimes astrological talks and stuff like that can sound like they don't really get it. But with this little bit of translation, I think it could definitely really apply, and it's something that I think could really help. So I'm glad to be talking about this with you today.
Now Rachel is helping me with understanding how to use astrology to help you and specific aspects of it. And so today we're going to get started with all of that and do our first of probably what will be many videos, because I'm learning that there's lots of different astrological aspects and things that can be in both your child's birth chart and in the current transits that are going on right now that are really important, helpful knowledge that could guide you, right, on your language facilitation journey to get better success, and maybe help. What I'm finding especially might help you especially overcome the times when you're struggling, because that's how it goes. Always the progress goes up and down. And the most challenging part that I have is when parents find things in their outside lives that they're triggered by, literally planetary things, I'm learning, that they're triggered by that are affecting their lives, and in turn, it affects their progress with language facilitation. So today, we're going to be talking about one of the most common, Mercury Retrograde.
You don't even have to know your sign at all. You could be totally ignorant of your own birth chart. You could not know your birth date, and you could still take a lot out of this information, because when Mercury goes retrograde in the sky, 3 times a year for 3 weeks at a time. And this is an energy that's happening that is affecting us all. So that's kind of like a good way to start observing astrology, even without getting super detailed into it.
What we're going to do is Rachel's going to talk to you about Mercury retrograde so you can understand what it is and how often it happens and potentially how to use it in a general sort of way. And
Right.
then I'm going to jump in at the end and I'm going to give you 5 different language facilitation strategies.
Awesome. Okay, so Mercury is the planet in astrology that rules communication and language and thinking, listening, talking, all the various parts that are involved in communication all have to do with Mercury. So if we're thinking about language facilitation, it's definitely the most primary planet in the sky that we would be looking to, or in a natal chart for aspects involving any type of challenges with language acquisition or stylistic differences, or different, like, astrology is a language of time. So when you're talking about like a progress or a cycle in a development regarding something, if it's language, we would look at a Mercury cycle. The planets are always in motion, and so, but they're not always doing the same kind of motion. And Mercury is the most erratic mover of all of them. There's this, the retrogradation that happens is not real in the sky where Mercury is really moving backwards. But because, and I'm not going to get further on this than we need to, but just let's say that it appears to us from our perspective here on Earth that Mercury is going back and then forward again. Now, this is very important, and even more than all the technical understanding of why that is happening, it's important to note from an interpretive perspective that there's a perspective shift that's happening from our perspective here on Earth. So perspective is the key word that keeps shouting out in this situation with Mercury, and this is exactly the most primary thing, which is the opportunity available for us to change our minds, our perspective, our thoughts, which are also Mercury ruled things, during these 3 times a year when Mercury appears to go back in its paces over the place that it just was. Now, specifically, you are going to be given an opportunity to change your thinking, or in the most recent past area that you've just been thinking about covering, dealing with, because it's backing up not to the way back past. You're not having like a past life regression. You're backing up over your most recent past. It's the most, and so there's these periods that are involved with Mercury before they go retrograde, which is called the shadow period, where Mercury's basically going over the ground for the first time that it's going to have to back up, go over again during the retrograde. This is actually the time most people make the most mistakes in the cycle, and they think they're going to maybe outrun the clock. Oh, they're like, oh, Mercury retrograde's in a few days. I got to get these contracts signed and do everything that I'm not supposed to do during the Mercury retrograde cycle so that I can outrun it. And that's actually not usually what happens. What usually happens is that all that stuff that they tried to rush, Mercury retrograde is not the time to rush. It's the time to say no to rushing and to say, you know what, I'm going to just not worry about scheduling any appointments for the next 3 weeks because I'm on a Mercury vacation. Because the thing is that everybody has this very drive to always be moving forward, and that is not authentic in the universe or in nature or in any way. We have to all go to sleep at night. Even our babies that don't want to have to eventually go to sleep at night. We have to rest. We have to recharge. We have to go with the flow, whether we really want to or not. So it's almost like an act of empowerment at the very time that you surrender when about Mercury retrograde, because you're like, wow, there are a lot of really good things that happen. I'm very mercurial in my own chart. I have Mercury in Gemini, I'm in a Virgo rising, and I always love the period. Usually that would be like, oh, I'd be super affected negatively by Mercury retrograde, but it's not, because I take it as a personal time where I'm gonna just really allow myself to observe, which is a great time too. You can make amazing observations during Mercury retrograde because your attention is capable of focusing in a way that it isn't necessarily usually. So that's another great opportunity for parents of language facilitation, because there's going to be a slowing down of the attention, and people that have natal Mercury retrograde usually are in their heaven during this period. It's actually their great time for them. So that's a bonus too.
So, breaking it down, it's all about communication and it's all about change and it's
Yeah.
all about deciding what you've been doing, if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, it's so the rule of thumb for Mercury, what's appropriate to do during Mercury retrograde? There's a lot of things they advise not to do. Don't start new things, don't sign contracts, blah, blah. What to do is anything that involves the re prefix. So review, rethink, renegotiate, all of the re words are all Mercury retrograde recommended. Yeah.
All right, and that leads us perfectly into the language facilitation strategies. 5 of these tools that you can use on your language facilitation journey. And so let's get into them. Number 1 is to reset your mindset, focus, and intention. The 2 weeks before, this is what you want to think about. Where has your energy been going in this shadow period? Because that's the area of focus, right? And some things you can ask yourself, some other things. What are the triggers that have taken you off course, especially in the past 2 weeks? What kinds of things have triggered you that potentially get you off of the path? And now what you need to think about is, because we're resetting your mindset focus, you want to think about how do you want to respond to these triggers moving forward, right? And then what kind of outcomes do you want to direct your focus toward moving forward? Because if you're going to reset your focus, you have to decide where you want to go, okay? We're going to move into the next one. And the next one is to review. And you're going to review your previous efforts and results, okay? And my recommendation for this is always to do a video self-analysis of your work. So your work is whatever you've been doing, whatever strategies you found on my YouTube channel, you read in the book, you found from your speech therapist, you got from your teacher, whatever you've been doing, your work. Record yourself with a video doing that job with your child, and then analyze that video by asking yourself these questions. How is your child's attention and focus while you're doing that thing? Is it where you want it to be, right? What is your child using during this period of time to communicate what's on their mind? What are they using? Are they using words? Are they using pictures? Are they using signs? Are they using gestures? What is it that they're using? And what activities during this period of time have you enjoyed the most? What kinds of things do you really want to do again, right? And what 3 strategies, 3 things you did made the most difference in your child's communication? You're going to review your self-analysis. You can watch these videos over and over and over again, and this way you can identify what is going on to get you where you are right now, to cause you to be in your current situation, okay? And they could be great things that you want to continue, but this is the time to figure it out because you want to review it, okay? And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to remove any blockages that you identified in your analysis. And you look at these areas, right? We always talk about physical. This is your opportunity during this retrograde to make your path moving forward. Focus on overall wellness. Slow down and pay attention to what you're eating. How are you exercising? What kind of time are you spending outdoors in the sunshine? If you're not scheduling appointments, get outside and walk around. This will help your physical body improve and reduce blockages to communication. Emotional blockages, make sure that you are focusing, particularly during this retrograde season, if you have to make sure you are enjoying every day. You're not fighting this slowdown period, and trust that you and your child are already making progress, because if you want to hurry up and you're finding resistance to that, the deal is to ease into that emotion. It's okay. We have time. We are making progress every day. And then remove environmental blockages by simply making a plan to provide 2 to 3 hours of targeted language facilitation daily. If you are doing that, the other blockages will go away, because you'll be moving them out of the way to get your 2 to 3 hours of language facilitation time in. So number 3 is to remove blockages. And then number 4 strategy is to revise your strategies so that you can elevate them and make progress. Take advantage of this change to make it an elevating change and not a backslide change, right? But you'll need to revise your strategies at stick or twist at this stage. How can you make the process easier for you, right? What will help reduce anxiety that you or your child is feeling in the process? And what has your child been trying to do lately? Because remember, in this shadow period, they're making some effort to try to do something, but they might not be very good at it. And this is the area you're going to get to review. So pay attention to what your kiddo has been interested in and trying out on their own, because that's what you're going to be able to really focus on during this retrograde period. And then what you also want to think about is what kinds of activities would your child and you like to do more of? And that's what you put in your plan to get that language facilitation time in. This is how you're going to revise your strategies to get more time, because you're going to do the things that you guys love, right? And then the last one is, what resources do you need to acquire for an even more successful outcome? Now, during the retrograde period is the time to do your research. Will it help you if you get a coach? Will it help you if you get a swing set for your house? You know what I mean? Will it help you if you get more time or an extra friend play date to come over who you screen for COVID, or as a neighbor like that? What kind of resources do you need to help you get a better outcome? This is your time to figure out what those resources are. You might not be making appointments and booking them, but it's your time to figure out these resources, okay? And then the last one that I have for you is to repeat target strategies to make new habits. Because if you are changing your mindset and getting your path moving forward, this is your opportunity. It doesn't just have to be beginning of the year, right? It can literally be every time Mercury goes retrograde, the communication system is changing in a real fundamental way. So choose one strategy and one new concept for your primary focus. Work on, because we're talking about a month period of time here during the retrograde. If you're focusing hard on, keeping slow speech or using fewer questions, and I've got the examples there at the bottom. Maybe slow talking is that strategy that you bump into. Maybe stopping using questions, or maybe giving more narration, talking more with your child. Those are just a few examples, but you should choose one new strategy and then one new concept, meaning that there's a new thing you want to teach. You want to teach potty training during Mercury retrograde. It's a great time. Slow down and focus on that. You want to teach writing. You want to teach talking, again, for language facilitation, focus on one concept. And if you're focusing on talking, focus on a concept of language, up and down, in and out. You can do one a week, or you can do one for this whole period, depending on how long and how fast your child takes in. But focus on that one, keep laser focus, and then you will be able to set your intention to shift this strategy, the ones that work real well for you, that your child was just sort of trying out and weren't very good at. Now they're going to shift into the new habits that you have. So let me review one more time these Mercury retrograde action strategies for you to use for your language facilitation journey, okay? Number one, you're going to reset your mindset focus. Number two, review your previous efforts and the results that you've been getting from those efforts, okay? Remove blockages, revise your strategies for elevation, and repeat your choice strategy 2 to 3 hours every day. And those are the strategies that I have. So now, Rachel, as a language facilitation mom and astrologer, what's your take on these kinds of strategies? How do you think that these things will manifest themselves in your life?
Well, I love it. I really loved the suggestion of researching new things. So the implementation of the new thing may not happen until after Mercury goes direct. So the expectations of success with new endeavors should be delayed slightly. Just sometimes the problem that happens during Mercury retrograde is there's this because the energy is kind of frustrated in some ways for certain people. It's people that are used to going fast all the time. Um, there's this franticness to try just anything that works and just push, 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 even though the answer is no, not yet, wait, please, no. So the reason why they advise against making major decisions like buying a big purchase or something like that is because new information is going to be revealed during the retrograde period that will inform your decision and color it in a different direction possibly. So you may change your mind. Again, the mind changing comes up because new information. So you may discover language facilitation and decide, oh my God, wow, I can actually do this in a whole new way, and you'll start to implement the strategies, but you may not see the results of the language facilitation happen immediately. You have to have a little bit of patience and really just give full attention to each step of the cycle to make the most of it. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't get a lot out of it no matter what you do, because whether you go willingly or unwillingly, there is a great opportunity for change that happens here. So it's really just about whether or not you want to make more conscious some of the energies that are happening. That's really what astrology does for me, is it gives me kind of, you know, parents need all the help that they can get, and they're super open. Especially like the more broken down that you get, you're like, okay, divine help, I'm down. So yeah.
Well, and the good news is that when you're down, divine help is always there, isn't it? Right?
Totally,
So
yes.
that
And
is the
that's
good
and so
news.
and so are you, Marci. You're always there for us, and thank you so much for all that you do for all of us. Because you know that's the other great thing is that there's, you know, I teach people astrology, which is a language, and it's like I translate astrology for people all the time, and it's so many of the same strategies that you use in language facilitation for kids are true with language development in any way. So it really is just like it's great. It all works, and it's only a matter of time, really. I think a great message that I've gotten from studying astrology and also practicing language facilitation is that when it's time, everything does happen, and it happens easier and better when you're in alignment and on the right track. So that's like these mindset shifts that can happen during, that's the most powerful shift of all, because when you can change your mind, then the direction of what to do next becomes clear and illuminated as you need to see it. You don't have to see the entire picture immediately,
Right.
because you're walking with the light now, and so you're like able to see as you need to what the next best thing to do is. So
Well, and
that's
that's
what I
what
really.
makes you feel better. That's what makes you feel better right now. You don't have to feel better someday when you have a result. When you know you're on the right path, you can stop and smell the roses, right? Yes,
I'm
yeah,
just ready for my kid to be talking already,
yeah.
to like, you know, like how can we really communicate, where is our communication at right now? Like, you know, and being able to really tune into that and see and really see it, because a lot of the reasons why there's so much frustration on both sides for parents and kids with speech delay is because there is a disconnect, right? There is not, it's not clear. It's not always, the communication isn't always happening. And this is what
Right.
people have as adults in Mercury retrograde periods of times, communication breakdowns, right? So, but the good thing that happens when there's an obvious breakdown is that there's an opportunity for there to be an intervention. And as long as the intervention is the correct intervention, this is the
Yes,
also great opportunity. If you've been doing things which are actually not helping, it'll become very clear in
very clear.
any capacity, language facilitation or otherwise. If you've been dieting and trying this one thing and you're like, oh my God, I I, I don't need to be on a keto diet. That's not good for me, you know,
Yeah.
like, or whatever it is. That might be very apparent to people. Like, you know, that's just one example, but you know,
Well, so that's another very good tip, sort of an astrological tip during this time is really pay
that's
attention
exactly what I was
to,
hoping you were going to say.
yeah,
Pay
pay
attention.
attention.
So wise to keep notes or a journal, or even just like, because
Hmm.
these things that are coming up now are going to be revisited again when Mercury goes back direct, but this time with a lot more clarity. So if something's really going to be bothering you and really causing, like, just delay is not defeat. My best friend in high school used to always say that, and she's a Taurus, and I always think of her with that. Delay is not defeat. Just
No,
chill.
and the best things, developing the best things takes time that's because more wisdom goes into any energy that it develops over time. More and more wisdom goes into that development. And when I'm talking about developing a thing that you are developing during the Mercury retrograde, what you're developing is a relationship and connection with your child. Because remember, this is the time when any challenges, any blockages to that connection are going to be highlighted.
Revealed. Absolutely, totally. They're gonna come. They're gonna rear their ugly head more than usual, and
So
so
that
that's
means mindset triggers could happen. That means that dip in your child. Maybe they used to be talking a lot more, and during
it
retrograde, people
totally
talk
could revert.
less.
Absolutely, there could be, and that might be something good to expect too, and to not freak out if it happens.
How often per year does a Mercury retrograde happen? How many times?
It happens 3 times a year. In 2021, which this is early 2021 that we're filming this, Mercury's going to be retrograde in the air signs. It's going to be retro. So this is even a very key time for language facilitation, because language, Mercury, a lot of that air signs very much affected by that. So like verbal language, social, all the communication, that's all air.
Right.
So the realm of air. So all this whole year, there's going to be a lot of shit. So you might see a lot of just communication across the board in all kinds of ways being
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more kids in 2021 who were late talkers spontaneously start talking, even
yes,
without language facilitation, and people who are consciously using the energy of language facilitation in these cycles are going to see benevolent results, wonderful
totally.
results.
And I also
Yeah,
think one
it's
of the things
win-win.
yeah, we're going to see just a shift collectively too, maybe in some about the way that we think about late talkers and the way that we think about language development. And there's all sorts of insight, like the level of insight, like what you were saying about I don't know if you used the word upgrade, but Mercury retrograde is definitely opportunities to upgrade all sorts of things. There does have to be a period, like you get a new computer because your old one breaks down, right? You have to go through a period of like loss before you get the right thing sometimes.
So look, we could chat on this for hours and hours and hours, as Rachel and I often do. But for today, what we're going to do is send you off with these strategies and, dig in, learn some more, and try it out on your language facilitation journey. Thank you so much for joining me, Rachel. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to get back again with another concept. If you enjoy this kind of content, let us know in the comments section how you enjoy it, if you want us to do some more, if you like astrology too, because we want to be creating more things that are going to be helpful for you like this. And I think that this is going to be a game changer for families. So thanks again, Rachel, and we'll see you all on our next video. Bye for now. Thanks for listening in today. And remember, there are tons of resources across my Waves of Communication platform to help you get started today on your language facilitation journey. There's more than 200 free videos on YouTube, a daily blog in my group on Facebook, my book, If It Isn't Fun, It Isn't Fun. Teach Your Child to Talk Faster Than Speech Therapy is available on Amazon and Audible, and my coaching programs. And all the details are on my website at wavesofcommunication.com.